Hello, welcome to the yoga break. For those of you who were with me for the wake up yoga, then hopefully you're feeling good and ready to go. For people who are just coming, maybe attracted by this title that you've been at your desk for a long time and you've got to go back to a Zoom call or something and you just want a little break, then maybe you're feeling a little more stiff. If you have the time to do so, you could maybe go and find my playlist that I'm creating, just knitting together this wake up yoga session and the yoga break and then the wind down. All three together would be in one little playlist that you can just click on and do the whole thing if you want the full experience. But if you're just here for 15 minutes, let's get going. So let's just start standing at the front of your mat, at the short end of your mat. Yours will be rectangular. And take the arms overhead as you breathe in. As you exhale, take your hands down the center. So next time, let's bring a visualization mat. So as you bring your hands down the center, if you're needing this break from whatever's going on in the world, in your life, take whatever that stuff is out of you as you bring your hands down and throw it away. You don't need it. And then as your arms come up and out, gather in something you do need, bring it down into you. Pause with your hands at your heart. So just that mental reset can be helpful. Once again, hands down as you exhale, inhaling, arms over. And then let's go to the floor, fingertips, bending your knees as much as you need to. Take your left foot to the back and let your hips sink low. Stretch long. Take your fingertips to the edge of your mat so you can shift side to side as well as front to back. And we're going to make a little circle. So you're keeping your hips low and just making a circle around, opening up all the stuff that's been stuck if you were sitting for a long time today. Breathing, moving around in both directions. And then stopping that movement so your hands can come underneath you and you can move back to a downward dog. We're going to keep the idea of movement going here. So pedaling your feet out, letting your feet bend at the ball of your foot so you get a stretch on the bottoms of your feet. Breathing into the open chest you've created with your arms over your head. And then at some point, let both feet come to stillness. Maybe your knees are bent a lot. That might feel nice. And we're going to come forward to high plank. So maybe after sitting for a long time, you really want to get your blood flowing. And for me, nothing does that as much as push-ups. So you can join me in this, or you can stay in a static plank if you prefer that. Or go back to child's pose if you prefer a little more nurturing. So if you're coming with me on the push-up journey, let your lungs fill. And as you empty them, you lower to whatever level you can, filling back up as you rise. Lowering as you empty, filling back up as you rise. I like to trick myself into thinking that when I'm breathing in helium, and it's filling up my whole body, and it just floats back up. Doesn't really work, but you can try the imagery. So if you have exhausted your arms already, you can come to the floor, or you can try, if you haven't put your knees on the floor already, a couple more with your knees on the floor. And then we'll all get to the floor. Taking your hands around back behind you. Going to this version of Cobra, because we're going to be here for a short time, and this is a great one for undoing the hunch of computering, phoning, whatever slouching you're doing in your life. So opening your chest, reaching your knuckles back, breathing in. And then let your hands go underneath your shoulders. Coming back up, if you have something more in your arms to rise up, you can do that. Otherwise, in whatever way that works, make your way back to downward dog. Couple of breaths here. This time we'll move on our feet by pivoting on your toes. Heels over to the right. Let your heels drop down and your hip goes over to the right. But you're still staying in the downward dog shape. So your hips are lifted high. You're not going toward plank. And you're getting a stretch in your left side ribs. Coming up through the middle, pivoting on your toes till your heels are all the way to the left. Letting your heels drop down. Hips to the left, hips high. Stretching the right side body. And then back to the center, pivoting on your heels back to regular downward dog. And you're going to bring your left foot up to the front. If you want, you can float your left leg high first and bring it forward, or bring your right knee to the floor first to bring your left foot around. And then hands out to the side again, those outriggers, so you can pivot around, getting into stuffing your hips on this side. Keep your breath moving in and out purposefully. And then bring your fingers underneath you and your back foot up to the front. Lift up your toes if you can, spread them out, place them back down on the mat, and then forward fold, exhaling. So don't worry about where your hands get, just wherever they go when you're getting a stretch in the back of your legs. Just let them rest there. So next time you're breathing in, we're going to rise up through chair pose. So deep bend in the knees, sitting back, take your arms out in front. One of my favorite poses is twisted chair. So you can bring your feet closer together if they're too far apart. And we'll take the right hand, bring it across to the outside of your left knee, using your core muscles to twist yourself around as much as you can. If you can get your hands into the prayer pose, you can use your upper hand pressing into your lower hand to lift your left shoulder higher. So your left shoulder is lifting, but your left hip is dropping toward the floor, bringing your left knee in line with your right knee if it's slid a lot. So deep stretch in all the rib cage muscles that also get stuck from a lot of sitting and unconscious breathing. Let's go through forward fold to get to the other side. So undo the twist, straighten out your legs as you exhale, and then coming up again. And we'll go to the other side. So the left elbow comes to the outside of your right knee, trying to keep your knees even if you can, and then using your core muscles to twist around and adding on the pressing of the upper hand to the lower hand. Breathe in here. Notice how difficult it is to take a big inhale here. It's forcing air into other places than it normally goes. This time we'll come out through chair pose again, unwinding, thanking your legs for supporting you through this. And on your inhalation, stand up. Breathing in. Hands up overhead, pulling something in that you need, letting go of something you don't. And then hands to the floor again. All right, left foot back. Let your heel come down. We're going to come into warrior two. Just a brief little flow. Reverse warrior and side angle. Straightening your right leg. Triangle pose with your left arm extended long, getting that side body stretch. And for the purpose of time, we're just going to come up and go to the other side. So just pivot your feet. So now you're facing the other direction. Left leg bending, right leg straight for warrior two. Reverse warrior back, left arm rising, left side body stretching, and then side angle. So now your whole right side body from your heel to your fingers is lengthening. Keep that length from your hip to your fingers as you straighten your left leg to triangle pose. Variation of triangle with your right arm by your ear. Stretching the whole right side. And then coming back up, warrior two. Coming to the straddle again. This time we'll do a straddle with the toes a little wider than your heels. So take a little bend to a challenging for you squat. Take your arms overhead. We can do a couple of forceful breaths in stillness now. So before we were exhaling in movement, now we're just going to use the arms to do that. So breathing in, as you exhale, you can take your arms down. So it'll look like this. You can imagine you're pulling energy into you. If your legs are getting tired, you can always just come up a little bit. And then take your hands down, bending a little bit at your hips, and hopefully this takes some of the work out of your legs. You can place your elbows where your hands were, pressing, a little stretch in your inner thighs, shifting back and forth. And then put your hands back where your elbows were and rise up. Standing tall. Working your feet back underneath you. So now we're going to come back to the top of the mat, and we're going to do a little flow with some flipping dogs and things like that. So if you're not familiar with this, you might look when we get to that point. So again, breathing in, getting in touch with your breath pattern. Hands down the center as you exhale, finding your center, from which you can go out into the world. Fingers to the floor, and left foot back again. So now we're going to go back and go right into three-legged dog. So we're going to have a little fun here on our yoga break. Sliding your right foot back, let it go up into the air. Take your right hip high, bend your right leg, and you're going to keep going so your foot is on the floor and your hand can come off the floor. So your left leg is straight, right knee is bent, and you're opening up. This pose is called Wild Thing. And so be wild. Use it to get whatever kind of energy you need. Moving your arm around, taking your chest up toward the ceiling as much as you can. And then coming back, placing your right foot on the floor. Now you'll just breathe your left leg up. If this is getting to be too much on your wrists, you can play around with doing this on your elbows. The three-legged dog part. I don't think the flipping will work on your elbows. And then reaching around, left leg bent, lifting up. Feel the wildness of this pose. Hopefully your right wrist is feeling fine. Huge opening in your front for air to come in. And then bringing your hands back to the floor. Downward dog. Breathe in. Let's take a wide knee child's pose here. So knees go wide. And letting your hips settle down. Forehead and forearms relaxing on the floor. Taking a moment to assess how your energy level is. Do you feel like you really stepped away from the world? Gotten away from that sluggish feeling that can happen if you spend a lot of time working or, tending to responsibilities for other people. Time for you now. If this is feeling really good, stay. If you want to keep moving, you're going to come up, bring your knees underneath you, back to downward dog. And then walk your feet up to the front of the mat. Pausing here, and we'll roll up on an inhale. Arms touching overhead. When you're exhaling, bring your hands back down to your center. So one of my favorite ways to feel like I'm taking a break is to do dancer's pose. Again, it opens up your whole front body, and you're also standing on one foot, so you're really having to concentrate on what you're doing. So we're going to finish up with dancer's pose. So we'll start with the left foot, we'll start with on your left foot, and you're going to take your hand in your foot on the other side, and start to bring your knees in close toward each other, and then start reaching your knee back behind. I'll put it around. You'll lift your knee up as high as it can go. Keep your chest and your gaze lifted up as you start to tip over. And then your head and your foot equally go toward the ceiling. So you're not tipping over in the front body. You've got to lift up to get that benefit. And coming out. Pausing, feeling what you've done on one side of the body. And then you'll switch around and go to the other foot. So again, bringing your knees in close toward each other, and then bring your left knee back behind, taking it up, tipping over, but keeping your chest lifted, as though you're in cobra on the floor. Gazing out, feeling like a dancer. Head and foot toward the ceiling. And then release. Good. Coming again to a little assessment time. So you can stand comfortably however you like, hands at your heart, eyes closed, your palms open, eyes open, and just see how you feel. If there's anything else that you need in your yoga break, then you can give that to yourself. I'm going to be stopping this live stream now and starting another one for the wind down yoga, which will include a nice long shavasana. So if you are feeling like you would like a little winding down after this, or you have the time, you can join me in that, the wind down yoga. And as I said, on the playlists, I'll be putting these 3 sessions together so you can just click on that if you don't want to have to be making a cue. So I hope you join me with wind down yoga and Shavasana. Thank you.